All right, everybody, so welcome back. So as the world observes Suicide Prevention Month, the spotlight is turning to mental health here at home. On October 11th, the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists will host the country's first ever mental health conference and awards ceremony, bringing together experts and leaders from across sectors to advance the conversation. Joining us this morning are Association President Kelly McFarlane and immediate past President Mr. Charles Collier. Good morning and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Yes. All right. So, Kelly, let's begin with you. Let's look at because I think that we have established that this is the first time a conference such as this is being held. Why?
Why? Well, first of all, we want to keep mental health as part of our national development. And I say keep because I've been seeing so much more being done on a national level with regards to mental health. We see the Ministry of Health always posting things about mental health to educate the public and so on. And of course, TTAP has been doing our own set of public education. But it is so very important for people to really understand and feel comfortable and safe discussing mental health. It's important for professionals in mental health, the different fields of mental health to continue to collaborate and, be able to be in a space where we share and we have to take care of each other and of people who seek our services. Those were some of the reasons or the driving forces behind kind of bringing everybody together in this space to share and to learn and to realize that mental health care and professionals and resources are accessible and are not as scary and taboo as some may think.
Yeah. Charles, you think that there has to be more focus on mental health in Trinidad and Tobago? I think in recent years we have seen some development and we have seen some move in trying to put it, I wouldn't say on the front burner, but a little closer to the front burner. So again, because I think that the culture has been in Trinidad and Tobago that what happened? You're not strong enough. In the case of a man, what happened? This is who a man should be, a strong person. And sometimes I think that especially men, they are treated in a way that they are not humans, that they are robots, and they should be able to deal with things. How do you see it?
So you're right on it. Men, we face sort of a double stigma when we're dealing with mental health. We already have a stigma culturally about mental health in which we regard any acknowledgement of mental health as being a mad or a mad. And as a consequence, nobody wants to fall into the mad category. And so we are avoidant of addressing mental health in general as a culture. And men have the additional burden, exactly as you described it, of having this notion of manhood that is not human. It's not possible. It requires men to not have emotions and not have needs and so on, which is absurd, because that's fundamental and essential to human existence. It's literally built into us biologically. And so we find as men that we have these needs and we have these emotions, but we're not allowed to address. We're punished for. And so there does have to be a particular attention to that, and there does have to be education to help men in particular come to terms with the reality that it's perfectly reasonable to attend to your mental health, just as it is to attend to your physical health.
Yeah. But Kelly, a few months ago, a former Minister of Health would have warned about an explosion in mental problems in Trinidad and Tobago. And I think that sometimes when we think about mental health, we almost immediately see someone who is talking to themselves, walking somewhere in Trinidad and Tobago, dressed poorly, looking dirty, things like that. You know, that's the link that we make when it comes to mental health in Trinidad and Tobago. But how is this played out in a general sense? Because there may be people who may be looking very, 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 very good and wholesome, but they are dealing with certain issues. So again, how is the mental health being played out in Trinidad and Tobago? How are you seeing it?
Anxiety and depression are the most common mental illnesses, and many people experience anxiety disorders and mood disorders, but a lot of people suffer silently, or what you call high functioning depression. And sometimes the signs are there and the signs are sort of obvious, but because the person is coping, seems to be coping, or they're coming out to work and they're doing what they're doing, if they're having explosions or they're moody or they're in a corner by themselves, you just say, well, that person is weird and moody and so on. Or sometimes we ourselves don't want to recognize and acknowledge or try to find out if there is something that is that we could be working on, right, to improve our life, you know, and our quality of life. So how I see it playing out is, yes, majority, a lot of anxiety and depression, but I also see a lot of it stemming from work, unfortunately. Our work culture is quite interesting in Trinidad and Tobago. Lots of unhealthy stuff, lots of unhealthy stuff. And as much as I hear it, there's no time that, you know, I don't have the same reaction. It's unfortunate. And so I see a lot of that, and a lot of it leading to a lot of physical illness. And I know another thing that the Ministry of Health had been promoting or speaking about is that connection between mental illness and NCDs. Mental illness is an NCD, right? So that family of NCDs, so to speak. And a lot of people don't realize that sugar or diabetes, right, hypertension, etc., and other chronic illnesses can be linked or triggered by or excessive or chronic stress and mental illness. And so it's very important to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Kelly, let's talk about some of the things that are going to be placed on the table at the conference.
Sure. All right. So at the conference, first of all, we're going to have booths outside, like an expo, like in the foyer. So this is at the Radisson, right, on October 11th. And so you can walk around, you can get little resources and testing and so on, health screening and so on, in that aspect of it. Then we're going to have a panel discussions. We have quite a few panel discussions, really interesting topics, really interesting and well-known speakers in the field of mental health. There's going to be a lot of research. So some of the research will be presented live in front, you know, to the crowd, and some of the research will be in the form of posters at the circumference of the room. And it's really, you know, what we're doing. So, of course, World Mental Health is on October 10th. We are having this on October 11th. And we are really focusing on that sort of drive to create community where mental health is concerned, but with a Caribbean twist. We're applying this to us because we know a lot of us get trained in the sort of the European and American modalities and philosophies with regards to mental health treatment and so on. And we are quite a unique people, as Charles kind of started talking about just now. And so we need to apply these principles and the way that we treat people and the way that we experience the spectrum of mental health and understand our own experiences of the spectrum of mental health with that with that framework or based on how we think, how we've developed, how we've become whatever our society is, our own expressions of mental health and how we interact with each other. So that's essentially sort of what you in a nutshell, would expect.
But Kelly, who's it for? The conference.
Oh, right. The conference is for the public. The conference is for everybody.
Right.
Right. So the idea is to bring together all stakeholders, including the public, so that we can all share and learn from each other. Because as much as we will have now, it's not just going to be psychologists on the stage, right? That's in these panel discussions and researchers and so on. We have people with lived experience who are presenting research and sitting on on the panels. We have people from the union, because we're going to be having a panel on workplace stress and how workplace stress affects the body and mental health, HR, social work, psychiatry. So this is really a very inclusive event, and of course questions and answers and interactions from patrons, people who come to the conference. So everybody's voice is going to be heard. Everybody's going to be able to ask questions and learn things in their own ways. So it's an inclusive experience.
Yeah, Charles, anything else you'd like to add concerning the conference?
Yes, the research part I think is especially important. Research that is conducted in other places is useful for us. We can learn from it. But what applies in one place is not necessarily exactly what's needed in another. And there has to be a growing focus on local research, particularly with regard to mental health, that we need to have more deliberate scientific examination of the ways in which we function well, the ways in which we feel mentally in our cultures. And so there's a need for exposure to and investment in that kind of examination and study.
Yeah. What do you think that should be the biggest takeaway for persons who attend the conference?
That there is a wide array of bodies, organizations, professionals, avenues for accessing mental health care and support. A lot of times people just don't know. If people take away from it that there are different services available, that there are different avenues available, that would be a big step forward.
Yeah. Kelly, anything? Yeah, anything else you'd like to add? I'm just thinking that a lot of work still needs to be done when it comes to mental health in Trinidad and Tobago, because we do still have this stigma. He playing mad, she playing mad, this one weak, this one playing the fool, And I think that so many years later, in 2025, we are still dealing with a situation such as that. So I suspect, after I say all of that, a conference like this is really timely. And as you would have said this morning, everyone who attend can learn not only how to cope with situations such as this, but I suspect to gain a lot more empathy and understanding as it relates to the entire problem in Trinidad and Tobago.
Absolutely, because all of us, or at least almost all of us, whether we know it or not, know someone, whether it's in our family or friend circle or co-workers, someone close who is experiencing a mental health problem. Some which are, you know of that they would have shared, and some which are silent, but it exists. And so, putting yourself in a position or in a space where you can learn how to help others and how to help yourself, because if you can know the signs, help yourself early, then you can avoid developing, most times, a lot of times, avoid developing the mental illness. We all experience, you could experience depression at any time, anxiety at any time. These are normal responses from your brain to your body that something is, unusual or uncomfortable or pending doom or danger. So that's normal, but the duration, the intensity, and so on are what matters. So the more public events and education and media. I'm so proud and happy that the media has really embraced the topic of mental health in the past couple of years. The more of that we do, the more that we help each other.
Yeah.
And the healthier of a nation we will eventually have.
Yeah. All right. So we have run out of time, Kelly and Charles, but thank you very much for sharing that information with us this morning. We do have the contact information for your conference, and we wish you all the best. And thank you very much for the good work that you and your association continue to do. Bye for now.
Thank you.
All right, everybody.